members of the school board, Superintendent Kirby. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I promise to keep this brief because I know we all have more important things to do, like figuring out how to explain to our kids why the founding fathers didn't foresee the need to include preferred pronouns in the Constitution. I'm here to talk about the new Title IX rules proposed by the Biden administration. You know, the ones that seem to think the Constitution is more of a suggestion than a rule. These changes, in their infinite wisdom, would require schools to enforce a one-size-fits-all policy on gender identity that even the framers of Title IX would probably raise an eyebrow at. First off, let's talk about freedom of speech. Now, I don't know about you, but I thought the First Amendment was pretty clear. It says, Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. Apparently, what it meant was, Congress shall make no law unless, of course, we need to update it to keep up with the latest TikTok trends. The new rules want to force everyone to adopt a specific view on gender identity. So not only do we have to teach math, science, and history, but now we also have to teach gender studies to kindergartners. And if someone disagrees, well, too bad. You'll be required to nod and smile like a bobblehead on the dashboard of a government-issued Prius. And then there's the issue of fairness. Title IX was designed to ensure equal opportunities, especially for women. But these new rules say, hey, who needs fairness when we can have chaos? By allowing biological males to compete in female sports, we're basically saying, congratulations, girls, you get to compete in the Equality Olympics, where the odds are never in your favor. Let's not forget the legal mess this could create. The last thing our school district needs is to spend money on lawsuits when we could be spending it on, I don't know, maybe teaching the kids how to read and write, but instead we're supposed to jump on board the legal roller coaster that comes with these new regulations. I can see the headlines now. Forest Hills Public Schools, more litigious than literate. In all seriousness, I urge the board to take a stand. Our community values diversity, respect, and inclusion, yes, but we also value common sense. Let's not turn our schools into a battleground for social experiments deemed up in the halls of bureaucracy. Let's protect the rights of all our students, keep our Constitution intact, and focus on what we do best, educating the next generation. Thank you. And remember, when it comes to government overreach, just say, no thanks, we're good.
Yeah.
The administrative Title IX changes to the board book should have been paused until the court system decided its fate. Why? It included gender identity and expression under Policy Update 3115 as protected in access to district programs and activities. These are added without definition to what they are and how to verify them. Sex is immutable and easy to verify. Gender identity and expression are not. Some claim that gender identity and expression are fluid, changing by the day. Title IX rules would not even allow schools to check, based on page 1272 of the mandate, precluding schools from obtaining proof of gender status, which may be needed to obtain special accommodations. With no definitions and no way to prove that an ever-changing gender, you open yourself to endangering women and girls, the very people Title IX was designed to protect. How? This broad interpretation is a green light for sexual predators to get easy access to students in private places. Be very clear, we are not saying transgender people are sexual predators. Anyone who thinks we say or believe this is guilty of illusionary correlation bias. Check your bias. However, morally evil people, including students and adults alike, do exist. And don't forget horny, impulsive teenagers full of testosterone. Not all, but some do exist. Don't believe me? In May 2021, a teenage boy claimed to be a girl without medical proof, a claim disavowed by his own mother. He raped a girl in Loudoun County school bathroom. The school board covered it up, transferred him elsewhere, and he raped another girl again. Is that not close enough for you? Then how about this? This past May, Bradley Arkenstein, a pedophile and sexual predator, was caught as a janitor in our own Meadowbrook school, the school that my daughter went to, the school that my son now goes to. In court documents, he claimed to have a few favorite second-grade girls. He wanted to experience being with a child sexually. And if he was invited to babysit a second grader, he would likely touch her vagina. Were these two transgender people? The answer is no. But they were predators, and one clearly abused gender identity to rape two girls. Title IX changes force deference to unverifiable claims of womanhood from people with male sexual parts. This allows predators to pretend to be transgender to gain access to our daughters. Taking away women's safe spaces to change their clothes or relieve themselves is misogynistic. Board Policy 2201A2 states the board will provide for the safety and welfare of students while at school or school-sponsored activities. The Title IX mandate with our current infrastructure will force FHPS to allow boys into girls' bathrooms, locker rooms, and hotel rooms as detailed on page 1263-82. Thus, implementing the Title IX changes unacceptably endangers our daughters.
Thank you.
Good evening. I did spend time on a Zoom call today, an hour and a half, with an attorney, Kimberly Herman from the Southeastern Legal Foundation, which has been involved in all of these court cases, including the Supreme Court, which ruled 9-0 against these changes. Rockford Public Schools is currently being sued by two families whose children were transitioned without their knowledge or consent. Is Thrun going to pay legal fees for FHPS when you get sued? Because that's what's coming. I guarantee it. The administrative Title IX changes to the board book should be paused indefinitely until the court system decides its fate. Why? Allowing biological males and females to enter and expose themselves in opposite sex facilities is considered harassment and against the student's subjective. Legally, this is indecent exposure, which by Michigan law 750-335A is a misdemeanor punishable with jail time. Adopting Title IX gender identity expression into the board book puts FHPS at greater risk of lawsuits from a harassed majority than from a tyrannical minority who think that they have the right to violate the majority's legal rights through an intentional use of opposite sex facilities. Moreover, the regulations will force teachers and students to self-censor, violating their First Amendment right to freedom of speech, and in the case of most Abrahamic religions, the freedom of religion. And if they don't self-censor, the school becomes open to more lawsuits. How? Title IX updates require teachers and students to use preferred pronouns by broadening the scope of sex discrimination to include gender identity, thus leading to legal ambiguity. This is because the mandate adopts a new standard called de minimis harm. Found nowhere in the original Title IX, by this standard, schools must comply with the student pronouns regardless of any objection, even from parents. When an unverifiable fluid gender identity that changes by the day, this sets up unsuspecting children and teachers to become entrapped by calling a student their preferred pronoun one day, only to be told they are harassing the same student with the same pronouns the next day if the student changes their mind, even if they didn't announce it. Again, it's not the transgender community that's concerning. Our concern is the predators who would use unverifiable metrics to pose as transgenders in order to harm our children. Frivolous lawsuits against students and teachers will ensue by the minority of students acting in bad faith. Then you will see countersuits from the teachers or good faith children who were entrapped. It is better to table any mention of gender identity or expression until the Title IX injunction has been resolved in the courts.
Thank you.
Vincent Monahar. You'll find me at 6860 Cascade Road. The speech represents my views and not any affiliated organization. Biden's Title IX changes to the board book should be paused indefinitely until the court system decides its fate. Why? The de minimis harm standard impedes parents' ability to protect their own children. By the mandate's description, disclosing a student's gender identity could lead to harassment. If you combine this proviso with others regarding access based on identity, you create a scenario where, number one, you are in violation if you do not assign a boy who claims to be a girl to a girls-only room in an overnight school trip stay. And additionally, you are also in violation unless you decline to inform the girl's parents that those girls will be sharing a room with a biological male. Again, be clear, it's not the transgender people that we're worried about, but the mandate allows easy abuse by sexual predators and impulsive horny teenagers to pretend a gender identity in order to gain access to our daughters. There are 10 lawsuits against the U.S. Department of Education blocking this ruling, and injunctions exist in 26 states across the membership of 3 national organizations. Verbiage for the judges includes the final rule quote exceeds statutory authority, violates the Constitution and is arbitrary, and the final rule quote elevates gender identification above that of biological sex, i.e. women. So a contradiction of Title IX's text and erosion of its purpose cannot be permitted absent congressional action. In a 5-4 decision last Friday, the U.S. Supreme Court blocked Biden's Title IX rules, enacting a temporary stay of the guidelines. All updates to Title IX were placed on hold in all states with temporary injunctions until the court can come to a final decision. Regarding Elliot Larson, federal injunctions trump state law, and the Supreme Court is an expert on constitutional law. To date, Moms for Liberty members have injunctions covering at least 5 of the FHPS schools: Meadowbrook, Northern Trail, Central Middle, Central High, and Pine Ridge, and I am one of the parents standing firm. This injunction covers all current and prospective members, and more are coming. The school district can use the injunction and the Supreme Court ruling to pause until court cases are decided. So what can you, the board, do? Number 1, start preparing your school's infrastructure properly. A reasonable protection for all students, including transgender students, is to convert existing bathrooms and locker rooms into single-occupant unisex bathrooms and changing rooms. While this doesn't fix all the issues that we have brought up today, it does combat the misogyny by creating safe spaces for women again. Naysayers will say that the infrastructure costs are too great. This is laughable, considering you have just extracted a $340 million bond from we the taxpayers specifically for infrastructure in November. And then what can you do? Number 2, exercise prudence. Pause the implementation of Title IX final rule until courts, legal experts, decide legality. Sometimes the best course of action for the safety and inclusivity of all our children is to observe and wait. Good day.
Thank you.